Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor at Madison365, with your daily update for Monday, March 15th, the Ides of March, as they say. It is Monday, which means that it is Metcalf's Mondays. Metcalf's is a fourth generation, family owned and operated market with stores at Hilldale and behind the Westtown Mall in Madison, and then also over in Wauwatosa at 68th and State. Their sustainable seafood selection is unlike any other in town, with fresh deliveries coming in 6 days a week. And because there's still a pandemic, you can order for pickup or delivery at shopmetcalfs.com anytime. Also supporting the program today is Reach Dane. For over 51 years, Reach Dane has remained the leader in high-quality early childhood education, and comprehensive family services in Dane and Greene counties. The families they serve have at least one child under 5 and live at or below the federal poverty line. Nearly 30% of these families are struggling with homelessness. Without daily necessities met, these children cannot readily absorb education and build essential skills. So Reach Dane, a nonprofit organization, provides wraparound services such as mental health, meals, and transportation that help lay that foundation for educational success. And they're enrolling now for immediate care and also reserving spots for the fall. So if you have kids in school, of school age, and you need a little bit of assistance with childcare, go to reachdane.org. That's REACHDANE, reachdane.org, to enroll or learn more about how you can support these programs. So onto the news now. The coronavirus news is pretty good today, as it has been for the past, couple of weeks. We've had a couple of days where there's been just a number or two that causes concern. And anytime like the daily number of cases went up or the positive test rate went up slightly, I always said it might just be a one-day thing, but it's something to be concerned about. And so far, those have been one-day things over the past couple of months. So that's really good news. Now, over the weekend, nothing gave me much concern, Saturday or Sunday. In fact, on Sunday, our death toll reporting for that day was -2. So no new deaths reported, but 2 were actually corrected out of the data. So our death toll, that's the first time our total death toll has gone down in a day. And that was yesterday. And then today we report 0 deaths. So our total death toll right now is 6,536. And our daily average, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, our 7-day average is now 8. And the only reason it's even that high is last week, on the 9th, on Tuesday, we reported 29 fatalities. But since then, it was 14, 0, 1, 13, -2, and 0. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. These are kind of a weekly cycle of deaths being reported because they don't do the paperwork, the death certificate confirmation and stuff like that on the weekends. So Sundays and Mondays tend to be lower. Tuesdays, Wednesdays a little bit higher, and then we average out over the week, right? So we're now at 8 for the 1 week average, which is still pretty low. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. If we get lower than 29 tomorrow, that'll go down, and that'll be good news. Now, in terms of cases, we did report 2,200 tests today. That's new tests. It's either the first negative result or the first positive result. And of those 2,200, 294 were positive, so a little bit over 13%. Not bad. Over the weekend, it was a little lower. It was like 9% on Saturday, 7% on Sunday. But still, our daily average of cases actually has gone up slightly. But that's because testing has also gone up slightly. So we're still now at 437 new cases per day. That was below 400 toward the end of last week. Again, that's not giving me a lot of concern because the percentages have stayed relatively low, including the most important percentage, which is the 7-day positive test rate. All tests for the past 7 days, 2% are positive. And that has been steady since Thursday. And that's been coming down steadily. I mean, really, it's been on a downward trend for a couple of months. But the last time it even went up one day was almost 2 weeks ago now. It was February 20, well, more than 2 weeks ago now. February 26th was the last time it went up to 2.8. And it has been drifting steadily downward to 2.0 on Thursday, which is where it still is today. I've been saying for months that we got to get that below 3. So we've been below 3 now for more than a month, which is great. Okay. So everything we're doing is working, and there's just not as much virus out there circulating. So these numbers will stay low as long as we continue to do what we're doing until we get more people vaccinated. Okay. Now, the county is kind of opening things up. I'm hearing reports, as we've heard since last fall, of lots of bars being full of people, big events happening. That kind of thing is what's going to cause these numbers to go back up. So let's be careful about that. But also let's understand that it's kind of okay to do larger gatherings these days as long as we're careful. Like, right? 2.0 positive test rate doesn't mean it's over. Doesn't mean it's all done. Doesn't mean we can just throw away the mask. It's 2.0 because we've been doing the right things. So let's keep doing the right things to keep it at 2.0 or even lower until we get through this vaccination period, which should only take a couple of months at the way things are going. Okay. Initially, there was some worry that vaccination could take 2 years. At the rate it started at, when we first started doing vaccinations in December, the pace it was going would have taken over 2 years to vaccinate everybody, or to vaccinate enough people for herd immunity. The way it's going now, where we're finishing 10 to 12 to 20,000 people a day, depending on the day, it could be done in a couple of months because it's going to continue to accelerate. But let's talk about the vaccination numbers for a minute. We are now at 12.1% of the entire population has been vaccinated. We need to get that to about 80, right? So we got a ways to go, but we're getting there. We got almost 11,000 people finished just in the last 24 hours, or at least reported. There might be some paperwork that gets kind of straggled, but about 11,000 more have been fully vaccinated today than were yesterday. That's almost 710,000 people. Our total number of vaccines administered has passed 2 million. And over 1.3 people, almost 1.3 million people have gotten at least one shot. Now, as we talked about on Friday, anybody with there's a list of health conditions, including being overweight, which is 80% of Wisconsin, because they use BMI, which is not a particularly useful measure, as it turns out, but that's what they're using. So if your BMI is over 25, you're eligible for a shot. That's body mass index. The question is, if you're eligible, how do you get one? That you're not eligible yet. I'm sorry, I misspoke. You're eligible starting March 29th. But you can make an appointment now, probably. The question is, where do you go? How do you make an appointment? Who do you call? And there is a vaccine. You can call your local county health department. You can call the Department of Health Services. Or you can call your primary care provider and find out if they have vaccines available. You can also go to walgreens.com, and schedule an appointment that way when you're eligible. You can't do that yet if you're not eligible. But when you're eligible, you can make an appointment. And Walgreens makes you make both appointments at the same time. So there's no worry about okay, I got one shot, but can I get the second one? They make you get both appointments at the same time. We still see some significant racial disparities in who's gotten the vaccine, which is to be expected because they did it first by age, and that is going to favor white people. Life expectancy in the state and in this country is higher for white people. There are just whereas black people make up 6% of the population of Wisconsin, they make up a smaller percentage of the population over 65. But as soon as you start doing it by health condition, you're going to start to see these disparities disappear if there's also parallel outreach to those communities. And I know they will be. I know there is already from on the part of like UW Health, for example, has been doing real targeted outreach to marginalized communities and people of color. But I also know that the state of Wisconsin, DHS, has put out over $6 million to local agencies they haven't put it out yet. They've put out a call for proposals, basically. And they're going to give away $6 million to local nonprofits specifically for that purpose, to help marginalized communities and people of color get vaccinated. Because it's not always easy to navigate healthcare systems. You can say, let's go on my chart, but that doesn't mean much if you're a Hmong elder living in, northern Wisconsin and don't speak very much English, So there are efforts underway to smooth out those racial disparities. And the thing is, every person who gets vaccinated not only helps themselves, but helps everybody they come in contact with. So the faster we can just get everybody vaccinated, the faster we're going to all get through this together. Right. So, I have a little issue, like just quibbling too much over who's eligible and who's not. Just everybody get vaccinated as quickly as we can. Let's just get everybody done as fast as we possibly can. And we will all be through this much quicker. So that is the coronavirus news for today. Stay with us. I have tons of more news to tell you about, including a very important and exciting announcement about us and about the news that we will be able to bring you going forward. So stay with us. Don't scroll away. We'll be back right after this. All right. Thank you for staying with us. Black Oxygen today, the podcast hosted by Angela Russell. The guests are, Rob Franklin, otherwise known as Rob Dees, hip-hop artist, and Opal Tomaszewska, another spoken word artist from Madison here. They are part of a program with the United Way of Dane County called Let's Talk About It, and it's happening. There's an event happening this Friday. We'll have more information about that in the next couple of days. But this episode of Black Oxygen is terrific. They talk about Madison's hip hop scene, support for Black performing artists, about just being a Black artist in Madison, and more specifically about that Let's Talk About It program with United Way. So it's a good listen. It's about an hour. I highly recommend it. Also today, the feature story this morning from Naomi Wolf is the story about Jerry Jordan, who is a local artist. He's an academic advisor at the UW School of Education, but he's an artist. And I got to know him first when the Goodman Madison College Goodman South Campus opened. He painted a mural of a lot of the historical, really important Black figures in Madison's history. And he's got this new piece called A New Song. And he got this piece into a juried exhibition at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, which opens April 7th and runs through July 4th. And one thing that he said that to Aomi that really spoke to me is that a lot of his work, he does mostly black people. Like he highlights black people because there's not a lot of representation in mainstream art. The other half of what he does is like Star Wars related, which really speaks to me, which I love. But anyway, but one thing he very consciously does is depict black people free of struggle. You know, like the white lens on black art is often about the struggle and about how hard it is and all the barriers and the obstacles that they face, and they're being downtrodden and they're being enslaved, and movies about like white movies about black people. White art about black people is often about the struggle, and he wants to get away from that. So he does these really uplifting pieces depicting these black people, and it's really fun, and it's really a big deal to get into a juried exhibition at a big museum in Chicago. So that's a great story. Check that out. It's on Madison365.org. It's still on the front page, so you can check that out today. Very sad news out of Los Angeles. This is Margot Spahn, who was from Milwaukee. She went to UW Madison. She was a Rock County correspondent for Channel 3, our news partner, Channel 3, for 4 years, and before moving on to Los Angeles. And she was just tragic. Was killed over the weekend by a hit and run driver while at a crosswalk in Los Angeles. She was only 40. So the whole kind of Madison news community is just really reeling over this today. In other news, Beyonce got a 28th Grammy, making her the record setter of the most by any woman and the most by any singer, male or female, at the Grammys last night. And Taylor Swift became the first woman to get the record of the year 3 times, which is kind of cool. Also in national news, Ron Johnson, you probably heard about this, said that he was not worried. This is on Friday, I think. He said in a television interview that he was not worried during the January 6th insurrection because the people that were attacking the Capitol loved this country, so he was going to be fine, even though they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence" or whatever. But he said, and he even prefaced it by saying, and this will get me in trouble, but if it was Black Lives Matter protesters, I would have been scared. Now, what does that mean to you? Now, today, he's saying, I had no idea people would think that's racist. But if that's the truth, Ron, why did you say this will get me in trouble? You knew this was going to get you in trouble. You knew you were about to say something racist, and you said it anyway. So that was fun. Now, these last 2 stories, I'm able to bring them to you, and I could bring them to you on here no matter what. But one of the new things that we are doing that allows us to bring you these kind of national news stories in a better, more fulsome format is that Madison365 is now officially a CNN affiliate, which means we can bring you more national news more quickly and without doing it sort of the way we have been doing it, which is sort of to aggregate from other sources. And that also means that the original stories we write can get picked up by other outlets and get broader reach. So that's exciting. Also, if you go to the front page of our site right now, Madison365.org, we just have an embedded video player right on the front page that will bring you whatever the top national news is from CNN right at this moment. So that's very exciting for us, and we're very excited about that, and we hope that to bring just more news and information to you. This is an important point, Mickey Guyton. Also, Oh gosh, Patricia, maybe you can help me out. Who won the best country record? It was a black guy. I feel terrible. I can't remember the artist's name, but it was also the Black Like Me is the name of the song, and I can't remember the name of the artist, but that was a new one. That was the first also at the Grammys last night. So thank you, Patricia. Appreciate you keeping me honest there. All right, that is the news for today. Once again, feel free to share as much as you can. You get the real news floating through your social media feed. And if you appreciate what we do, throw us a few dollars, because we always want to be free and open to everyone. We never want to make people pay for the news, because the news is important. Good news is, the correct and accurate, real, true, not fake news is important. And we never want to charge money for it. And that CNN thing cost us a few dollars. So if you want to support us, Madison365.org/donate. I appreciate it very much. That's all I have. Have a wonderful evening. Drive carefully. There's snow on the ground, so be careful on your way home today. Appreciate it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.